What's up, you guys? We're going to be making oxtail stew today. So I'm going to show you some of the ingredients that you're going to need, and then the video is going to speed up. So I'm going to also let you know some of the steps I'm going to take. So you're going to need your beef stock, some celery. Instead of potatoes, I'm using a rutabaga and some carrots. Got your celery, some tomato paste. I am not using a roux. Tomato paste is going to be my thickener. I got some fresh garlic. I'm using purple garlic. So, and I got my onions. I have my balsamic vinegar and my red cooking wine. Okay, I also add a pinch of cumin, and I also add a pinch of cinnamon. I wanted you guys to know what I meant by pinch. I'm using just a very small amount of it. What we're going to do first with the oxtails is I have them already seasoned. We're going to put them in the skillet. We're going to braise them. Then we're going to let them rest. And while they're resting, we're going to go ahead on and saute all of our garlic and onions. And at this time, if you wanted to use the colorful peppers like the red, the bell pepper, the yellow, I decided not to use them today because I used them all yesterday and I didn't want to drive way out to the Walmart and get them. So today they won't be in here, but they are also optional, and they do add a sweet flavor. So if you're going to do this, go ahead on and get those and have them ready. I kind of julienne sliced the carrots because I wanted them to cook a little faster. But the method is going to be, once I braise them and I cook all this down and I add my beef stock, I'm going to let them cook for about an hour and a half. And then I'm going to put my rutabaga in there because it takes longer than a potato. But if you're using a potato, you want to add that potato and the carrots in your first boil. And then you're going to add your celery in because because it steps to it. The cooking process for your potato, you want to add your potato in on the second boil. Okay? Okay, so I got my oxtails in the skillet. I'm going to be braising them on all sides. And I do believe I said I had balsamic vinegar. I do not. It's actually Worcestershire sauce that I'm going to be using, and red sherry wine, cooking wine. So we're going to let them cook, and I'm going to braise them on all sides. Braising will lock in your juices. So you want to braise it on all sides. As you can see, they don't really give you much of anything in the pack. You're really not getting nothing. They're expensive and they really don't give you nothing. So you want to just turn them, because we want to braise them on all sides. All sides. I mean, I don't know what this really is, but I still want them. I still want them. Stand them up against each other if you need to, because we want them sealed on all sides. On all sides. Cooking time for oxtails is 3 hours, 3 to 3.5 hours. So the first hour and a half, they're going to be cooking in the broth and everything that we're going to put in there except for the potatoes, if you're using potatoes. But I'm using a rutabaga, and that actually cooks. They take longer to cook than a potato. So I'm going to put them in on first boil, my first hour and a half. So you're just going to make sure they're braised really good, and then we're going to start on the sauce Again, I'm not using a roux. I'm using tomato paste as my thickener. Okay, you guys, so now we're getting ready to add all of our onion, garlic, purple garlic. If you're using your different color peppers, this is the time that you would add them, and we're going to just let them cook and caramelize. Then we're going to add the tomato paste. So we're just going to let them caramelize. Pick up the heat. And I normally would put these in the oven, but it's too hot to use the oven. So I'm going to do everything on top of the stove in a pot. But I prefer to use I really prefer to use my roasting pan and just put the lid on it and let it go in the oven and just not worry about it. So if that is an option for you, it's faster and you don't have to come back to the stove and all of that. Let it caramelize down a little bit more. I can see they done scratched my skillet because they're not using wooden spoons with it, but it's still doing what it does. Ooh, these onions and garlic smell good. We're going to add the tomato paste. Time to add our chicken stock. Add our chicken stock. I meant beef stock. I meant beef stock. I'm also using some smoked paprika. So I'm using about a fourth of a teaspoon. No, fourth of a tablespoon of paprika. Smoked paprika. You want to rub around and get all of those juices and all of that from where we braised the oxtails. You want to get all of that into your sauce. I'm so sick of that damn dog. I wish it would bark the fuck off somewhere. Lord forgive me for cussing because I said I was trying to stop. Whew. So again, if you're using potatoes, do not add them in here yet. But I'm going to cook this down and then I'm going to transfer this over to a pot because I'm using a pot today instead of my roasting pan. And I'm using a gas stove. I was scared of gas. Now I'm in love with gas. It's funny. So we're just gonna let this. We're gonna get that tomato paste mixed up in here real good before I start all of this. Regular garlic is okay. I just so happen to see purple garlic and wanted it because it's sweeter and they're bigger. And so you really only need one of those cloves, but I used two today. Okay, I'm fixing to transfer this over to a pot and everything's going in. Okay, you guys, as you can see, I got everything in the pot. It's all mixed up and ready to go. I have tasted my seasoning and it is what I want it to be. So all I have to do now is just let it go. Because I'm using a pot that's like really thin, it's one of those thin pots, I'm going to be stirring this every 30 minutes. That's just me because normally I use my roasting pan, which is thicker, you know, the original roasting pan that you do dressing in. That's what I normally would put this in, put the lid on it, and then just let it cook in the oven. But since I'm not doing that and I'm using a thin pot, I'm going to be stirring this every 30 minutes. Okay, so one other thing that I'm going to do every 30 minutes when I stir is I'm going to take some of the oil off. So you just want to take some of that off because oxtails are oily and you do need to take some of that off. So I'm just using a little cup to scoop it up. I added some dry parsley flakes just for color. It doesn't really have a flavor that will, a taste that will change your flavor profiles, but it's mainly for color. I use it in my beans and stuff like that, just for, mainly for color. So we're gonna take some of this off. And I'm gonna do this every time I come in here and check on this pot. Just take some off little by little. And then we're gonna let her go. We're gonna let her go. If I was doing this in the oven, I would not be doing it this often. I would just let it go. And then I would skim the oil off in the end.